right back at it. My name is Jeremy Stevens, always dropping weekly videos on entrepreneurship, marriage, finance, and every way to build financial freedom, financial wealth. Be sure to subscribe and comment so that we can keep these weekly videos coming and always the value coming quickly as well. So as you see by the thumbnail, today's video is called My First 100K Month in Real Estate. And as you can see, it has also brought me that brand new Range Rover that I just bought about a week ago. So it has been a blessing. It's been cool for this journey to transcribe and how it has been. And I'm just thankful to be in this position in order to share my knowledge and growth and wealth with you guys as well. So let's get into it. Last video, I got into kind of asking myself questions as if I didn't know anything. And I feel like the viewers, you guys, it also helps you as well, because a lot of these questions I wish I would have had the answers to when I was first getting started out in real estate. So what better way? I came up with about 15 questions. It's almost like I'm interviewing myself, but the other side of this interview is almost as if I literally know nothing about real estate, because you too can do this just like how I did. I started from zero and now I've scaled up to where I am today. So all the way up to, like I said, as you see by the thumbnail, $100,000 month. So let's get into it. So monthly cash flow, we'll get into what rental arbitrage is. We'll get into how much real estate I own to this point. How I reached this 100K milestone this month was actually December of 2023. I actually eclipsed $100,000, $118,000 to be exact. And how I actually got to this point, I used a method called rental arbitrage. Now, of course, I do own real estate as well. My business partner and I, we flip homes for a profit. That's a whole nother topic, but today's topic is going to be specifically about rental arbitrage. So this is a method where we go into apartment complexes and we ask, hey, look, I'm looking for a corporate lease. A corporate lease essentially tells this apartment complex that we will be running a business out of this apartment. So I'm not using this apartment just to sleep for myself. I'm using this apartment to run a business out of. So that's what rental arbitrage is, and that's what this whole thing is going to be about, because that is ultimately what got me to that $100,000 month. So what is rental arbitrage? I kind of just explained that. It is a corporate lease. It is a business where you are renting and not owning. So when I call these apartment complexes and I'm asking them, hey, am I allowed to get a corporate lease out of here? I'm essentially just a renter. So I am just entering as if I'm anybody else who is just looking for an apartment, but instead of me sleeping there, I'm going to be running a business out of here. So for simple math, if I rent an apartment for $1,000 a month, I will then maybe put it on Airbnb or put it on another booking platform for a profit. So let's say if I'm renting an apartment, let's say in a metropolitan area, downtown area, wherever you are, for $1,000 a month, I may rent this out to a traveling professional for $2,000 a month. So that'd be $1,000 net cash flow. So that's essentially what I do. With that method, I actually have 26 units right now, and I started with 0. And again, you can scale to this amount as well, but first you really needed to know exactly what rental arbitrage was. Next thing up, how do I find a good arbitrage deal? So essentially you need to look at great areas. What areas are profitable? What areas do a lot of people travel to? What areas have a lot of hotels around them? What areas have a lot of restaurants around them? What areas would you want to be in if you were traveling to that city? Whatever city it is, what area would you want to be in? And that's where you need to go. So downtown areas, always. I don't care what city it is, downtown, especially for different conferences and things of that nature, downtown is always going to have a lot of restaurants, they're going to have a lot of bars, and they're probably going to have a lot of conferences as well that will attract a lot of people coming into that particular city. So that's always a good area to be in. And of course, price. Where can you get into a good area first off, and then also, where is rent the cheapest? The more cheap or less expensive the rent is, the more profit you can make in a nutshell. So that way, especially in a downtown area, if you find a place where you can rent for $1,500 a month, and you know that you can charge a renter $2,500 a month or $2,700 a month, you're really winning. All right. Next, how much does it cost to furnish an apartment? So with this, you're not just giving these people empty apartments. You are giving them apartments that are fully furnished, meaning they're coming with all the amenities. They're coming with a couch, a TV, coffee maker, cups, mugs, silverware, you name it. It's almost like a hotel, right? You're furnishing this. It's their home away from home. So of course that comes with the cost. Typically, I always say to set aside $4,000 to $5,000 per unit, because this is going to cover most of the time at least a security deposit that you'll need to pay to that apartment complex. This will also cover your first month rent, because sometimes you may not be able to get a renter in there for whatever reason. So it's good to just have that buffer in your back pocket. So in the event that you don't rent it out in time and the first of the month rolls around and it's still vacant, you still have that monthly rent at least for the first month. So that's what I would suggest as far as, and then also on top of that, of course, it just goes into your furnishing as well. So set aside $3,000 to $4,000 a month, or $3,000 to $4,000 total, just to furnish. We're talking, your big couches, your TVs, and all the houseware items that I just mentioned. So that's just a comfortable number to start out with for your apartment or your arbitrage deal. Where do I buy the furniture? So Wayfair is gonna be your best friend. Amazon also is great. Surprisingly, Walmart's really good too. Meijer, if you have that in your area, is also really good. All these places are very good and just have great household items. So they're just great places, and that's where I've had a lot of success while also keeping my overhead low. Overhead is really big as far as just keeping it in a net profit, and just from a business standpoint, you always want to make the most amount of money for the least amount as possible. So spending the least amount up front is always gonna be your best friend. So Walmart, Amazon, Wayfair, Meijer, if you have it, they're all great places that will get you fully furnished, no problem, for the most cost-effective way as possible. How long are these tenants typically staying in your space? So for me, my bread and butter is to traveling healthcare professionals. So these typically are, tenants are typically staying anywhere from 3 to 6 months, depending on if they extend or not. So I always, since I have so many units, I'm always having people move in and move out. So anywhere from 3 to 6 months. How do lease contracts work with the tenants and you, the landlord? So just like the apartment complex is sending me a contract lease agreement to sign, I then, now that I'm, essentially the owner of this unit, I then send out a lease agreement to the tenant that I'm bringing on board as well. For legal purposes, you always want to make sure your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. So I have a contract that I send to all my tenants. They read it over, they sign it electronically, and that way, in the event that they ever try to pull a fast one and try to get out of the contract for whatever reason, you have all your I's dotted and T's crossed. So again, I am the landlord at that point, so they need a contract in place as well. Do you require payments up front to secure the space? The answer is yes. I require first month rent and a security deposit as well. This is grit in the game. So that way they know that nothing's gonna happen to their apartment, and they know that when they come, I can just give them the keys and the place is there for the next 3 months. So that is what I require up front. Without that, no bueno, no deal. Which payment platforms do you use and accept? So when you are an entrepreneur, and I tell this to everybody, you need to accept all forms of payments, or as many as possible. So I use Zelle, I use Venmo, I use Cash App, I use Apple Pay, I use Square. So that means that they can pay through credit card, they can pay, if they don't want to face any fees, they can pay through Zelle or Venmo or Cash App. Always have all forms of payments at least to accept, because people like to pay in all types of ways. The only ways that I do not accept are cash and checks, because people can write bad checks, and then cash, I just want a paper trail, so I don't accept cash. What do tenants typically look for in a unit? For me, again, my bread and butter is going to be traveling healthcare professionals. So honestly, they're not looking for much at all. I have across the board, I have 1 bedroom, 1 full bathroom, and I have a couple pictures on the wall, a couple fake plants in the corner, a TV with Wi-Fi, and they are good. They're working 12 to 14-hour days. They just want to come home to a quiet place, a comfortable bed, and they want to have, kitchenware to where they can cook their meals at home and then just go to sleep. They're not looking for much. It doesn't take these crazy designs in order to make money. Less is often more, even in this business. It doesn't take much. Always be a responsive host. Oftentimes they are, they're traveling from a long way from home. Just be there for them. No news is good news. Don't bother them. As long as they're paying on time, it's all good, I promise. How do I find tenants to occupy these spaces? First and foremost, word of mouth is always gonna be your best friend. Of course, since I do have so many units now, and I have hosted a lot of traveling healthcare professionals, and I have treated them right along the way, that means my name in good, positive form is out there. So people are always contacting me looking for places to stay, which is great. All right, that's number one. Number two is going to be FurnishedFinder.com. Furnish Finder is phenomenal. You just post your unit fully furnished with the pictures and stuff on that platform, and people are able to contact you directly that way. Of course, Airbnb is always going to be great. VRBO is also going to be great. Booking.com, Apartments.com, your local Facebook groups. There's so many ways to get tenants. People will always need housing, just like we always need haircuts, just like you always need your nails done, just like how everybody just needs their grass cut and their lawn. People will always need housing. This is a great business to get into, so take advantage of it. There are a plethora of ways